This is Silent Hill 2 Remake. We're here on PlayStation 5. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So here we are with the remake of Silent Hill 2, which is a beloved horror classic in gaming. It's one of the best ever created. It is something that a ton of fans are super into. And there were some worries ahead of this project, but I think Bluebird just absolutely knocked it out of the park here. Coming from the medium, I think they've really evolved the technology and really reimagined this classic game. Now, I say reimagined because it's not an exact remake. They've actually done some really great things to, in my opinion, improve upon the original game, which is kind of mind-blowing. And it's, it's not remastering, it's rebuilding it from the ground up in UE5, which is Unreal Engine 5. And yeah, to me, it's a reimagining of that experience. It's the same story beats, the same emotional things, the same crazy ending options, the same crazy hijinks and everything like that, but beautifully redone in a way that excites and delivers this experience for a new generation of gamers. It's absolutely spectacular. It's scary at times. It's depressing, dreary. It's horrific. It's got some really deep, impactful kind of things going on in terms of mental health and how different characters are impacted by different intense emotional moments, and how they've all found their way here to the sleepy town of Silent Hill. So I thought the best way to review this was to kind of start from the beginning. I had a bunch of saves I set up, but I really thought that just showcasing the opening, especially from the perspective of people that have played this and just seeing the difference, if you haven't seen any footage of it before, would be kind of mind-blowing enough. And if you are a new player to Silent Hill 2, you will be blown away by this. No, you do not need to have played any of the other Silent Hills to enjoy what Silent Hill 2 has to offer. And yeah, it's just utterly fantastic in terms of gameplay, story, the voice acting, I guess motion cap. It's really genuinely special. It's incredible. It's very well done. It's long. You're going to spend well over, I would say, 10 hours playing this, especially if you don't have guidance for puzzles and whatnot. And then you'll probably replay it with like New Game Plus, or you'll try to do different options because there's multiple different ending sequences, how everything can play out. And yeah, it's kind of just absolutely chilling and spectacular gameplay-wise. You play as this really hurt individual. Your wife died 3 years ago, but mysteriously you got a letter that she's here in this sleepy town of Silent Hill, the place you said you'd always go back to. And that starts our story, and we're going to dive into that in a sec. But let's talk a bit about the technical elements here. Like I mentioned, this is running on Unreal Engine 5, which means it's hyper demanding, but also visually quite impressive. So we've got Lumen on this, so that's your ray tracing element. You'll see that in like lighting and reflections. And the main difference between the two modes is how toned down that is. So we've got two graphical options that you can choose between in the display graphics. So let's go to quality mode. There's also fun graphics you can unlock. Default, 90s, pixelated, black and white versus red, VHS, old CRT, outline plus posterize, and green LUT. Pretty cool. Colorblind options, high contrast modes, inventory visual settings, lots of different color options in the environment and gameplay experience. And then there's a number of different HUD experience options to make things a little bit easier, a little bit harder. And that in itself is pretty cool. So for the quality mode, the picture is actually really, really beautifully sharp and detailed. Like, it actually looks quite great. Now, there is intense resolution scaling technology and sort of that signature kind of like fuzziness in some of the water and the sparkling. Like you might know what I'm talking about. So for quality, it's something like I guess the threshold's like 1500p, and it's gonna scale quite a bit depending on what's going on. And it's 30 FPS. So, like honestly, for a cinematic game like this, it's not bad, and it looks pretty good. But you are going to definitely notice frame drops below 30 FPS because it's Unreal Engine 5, which just seems to have all the you know problems that Unreal Engine 5 has on the consoles. And then I recommend personally, which is what I had it on prior, the quality or performance mode over the quality mode. So yeah, performance mode is what I recommend. It is something like 1200p is sort of that threshold, and it goes like lower at 60 FPS. Now you will notice that frequently the performance will drop well below 60 FPS. I think you're probably already seeing that. And yeah, it could probably dip to like 30-ish FPS, if not maybe a little bit lower, depending on how crazy the scene is. When you get to points where there's heavy fog, and the way they do the fog, oh, the fog is so good in this. Absolutely amazing. Seriously, like one of the signature elements of Silent Hill 2 specifically is how the fog was done. And we were given these like HD remasters or whatever, HD ports, which is what you're still stuck with if you're on Xbox, because I don't think they're streamable on the PlayStation 5 through the PS3 Classics thing at the moment. But like that version, a little awkward if you're a Silent Hill fan, because it doesn't really like it delivers something, but it doesn't really deliver it like it does here. Like it's just so well done, the fog and the atmosphere, and that's what I talk about. Is they nailed this. So I think the performance mode is 60 FPS. I think it still looks pretty good. Like it's a lot fuzzier around like characters' hair, especially during cinematics. Definitely a lot fuzzier in terms of like the puddles and visuals, stuff like that. But I think having that slightly higher frame rate does make a world of difference. And just like in general, I think they kind of nailed this overall story and atmosphere. Like it is downright unsettling and creepy most of the time. The fog parts of the game are actually the calmest, all things considered. Like it really just gets wild when you start getting into some of those otherworldly places, those places beyond, those complex locations with shifting environments, and the way the moldy environment is done is just so deeply emotionally unsettling, and just the creepiest sort of places. There's always this like just sad, creeping ambience that's just so well done in this. Okay, let's talk about the story. So as I mentioned, you're coming in and you're looking for your wife, Mary. But she died of that horrible disease 3 years ago. So what are you looking for here? Why are you looking here for this? What is, what is our title character? What is he looking for here? And it's that kind of mystery and that unsettling vibe that really, I think, makes this experience so intriguing and interesting. And it's not just you, it's the characters you come across. Like 99% of the game, it's focused on you, and then, the relationship to your wife and how that dynamic and mystery kind of unfolds. And then on the flip side of that, you have basically these supporting characters. And you only see them in certain moments and at certain times. But they're very, very well done. And if you look deep enough, there's a real story and real emotional elements going on there, especially with how those characters interact with our lead here. And I just really, really was blown away by it. There's a cool little Easter egg where they make fun of the Comic Sans thing from the remaster, but I just can't ever find it. Somewhere around here in this opening. But yeah, it's so majestically, again, like magical words here, But no, it's very, very well done. Seeing these characters and getting little glimpses into their lives, and it's a lengthy story, but you never really feel like anything is slow. You never feel like anything's drawn out. The pacing is so well designed in this. Everything just flows from one area to the next. But yeah, the story in this is so masterfully like weaved and revamped. It's the same tale as it should be, that you would know from the original Silent Hill, but they have expanded upon some concepts, some areas. There's great nods, there's great little reference things. Like, it's that world you know and love, it's just been expanded upon, and I think the way they sort of deal with the teaching you about the world, how you traverse the world, is just incredibly and dynamically well set up. It's just really quite amazing how you weave through these labyrinth-like areas, solving puzzles. Nothing too crazy, nothing too complex, and if you do have struggles, you can always look online. But like it's neat because you sit there and you kind of think on how to go through stuff, and you usually have like a map, and your map is dynamic because that map allows you to basically like it auto crosses off areas. So you'd be like, okay, I went through that door, I went through this area, and that in itself is so well set up. And don't worry, there is combat, there is craziness, but this really helps you set this stage for this like ambience and mystery of being like, what's happening. And you can see here the dynamic fog really, really being used and effectively like drawn and kind of rendered as you move through it. It's so eerie to just the highest beautiful degree. So good. And then the creatures you come across are grotesque and unsettling, and they move in creepy ways, and you fight them with really just a slight selection of tools, a melee option primarily. Then you might have like a weapon, like a gun later on that you might use, and you really have to carefully use your ammo, use your health, because the game is, depending on the difficulty too, it's either a little more forgiving or a little bit more hardcore, and your puzzles change a bit on the difficulty too. And that's where I was just kind of saying, like, Bloober, they really nailed this to the degree that I absolutely want them to tackle Silent Hill 3. I think that would be fantastic. Or also, I'd love to see them take a crack at a new Silent Hill game done not specifically in like, you know, not copying like the story of Silent Hill 2, but like creating a new entry in the world of Silent Hill akin to the styling and the aesthetic of this one. I think would be absolutely fantastic. I think they've definitely shown that they know exactly what they're doing with these, you know, this world, this tone, this atmosphere. It is, yeah, pretty amazing, I will say. Like, they definitely did something fantastic here with this. I think you'll absolutely love it. Like, if you are returning to Silent Hill, you will love the experience. That's something you've been missing probably for a long time in gaming, I would say for sure. So there's been some stumbles in this franchise. And then if you've never played Silent Hill before, because, you know, we haven't really had Silent Hill in a long time, I think you'll just be lost in the beauty of it. I hope this looks really cool and creepy to you, because this is really just like such a nice build for how crazy things get and the tone of it. I will note, though, that it was kind of annoying that your controller kind of makes sounds, if that makes sense. So I actually had to turn down the sounds, because it'll make sounds whenever you're near an enemy. But like that also sort of kills the suspense of not knowing where enemies are. So it's a cool feature, but it's also like a bit annoying in the sense that like it detracts the knowledge of like the surprise of enemies nearby, if that makes sense. So it was a little harder to get jump scared when it was like a fuzz sound, and I was like, oh well, there's gonna be an enemy there. So that is something to keep in mind. Maybe you want to turn that off. I don't know. There's a setting and stuff, but it is something that enhances the experience PS5 wise. But I was also just like, you know, I was it's sort of like, oh, well, that kind of takes away a little bit of the scares. But there's some good little jump scares. There's some good little surprises in this one. There are definitely some things that I think will kind of blow your mind. Everything is just so well detailed and so well designed here. Genuinely impressive. Like, every room, the level of detail, the challenge within it, it's good. Like, it's not too crazy, but yet it's a good amount of challenge. I love how you traverse through the environment, how you move through the challenges, how you survived. It's so good. It really is. Like, it's genuinely, like, at times chilling, at times overly creepy. They just hit the mark the whole way through. Like, I don't know what I expected from this. Like, it's been so long for Silent Hill, right? And not many franchises come back and swing so hard. And I'm hoping that this is really a good kickstarting point to see Silent Hill come back in the strong form that I know it can, and deliver something that is so crazy and exciting. Some of the puzzle stuff, it can get a little tiring. Like, I definitely see how some might find some of the puzzle elements a little tedious here or there, but I think you will love it for the most part. There was one that really drove me crazy where there's like moss and like the code thing is like randomized, but outside of that, it's really, really quite well done. So, Silent Hill 2 Remake, which is basically a reimagining of this classic game. As I said, you don't need to have played any of the others. They are basically like anthology games. And this one just, it takes something we love, and it expands it, and it brings it back with modern elements to truly get people excited and into this franchise for the first time. And I think it's just a very, very high recommend to experience this, and try not to like spoil it for yourself. And if you need it, don't be afraid to look up some guides to make things a little easier so you don't, feel as though you're getting, I guess you would say, frustrated by anything, because this is something you should enjoy. Moving through it and figuring out where things are, what you're doing, how to best survive as this character. And, like, again, the performances here from the different voice actors, so well done, so emotionally driven. And if you've been looking for something that is, surprising, a little, very emotional, maybe even a little depressing, like, it honestly, it is a sad story. It's not like a heroic thing, it's really dealing with a lot of deep, sensitive topics. But I think they've really produced something here that will delight people for a long time. And it's just so awesome that we were given the return of the series in this way. And I think it's just such a well done time. It's something to like cuddle up with, or kind of sit back and play. And I am really curious to see how people are going to try this out. Like, are they going to try to like revisit something from like an older time in terms of how they interacted with it, or are they going to like change things up because it's been so long? Because, like, again, it's been literal decades since Silent Hill 2 released, and there's been some iterations. Obviously, we got that package for it. And I don't know if the legacy of this franchise has been tended to the degree that it really deserves, because I know it's really good. So, yeah, I'm really hoping that people get excited about it. I'm hoping that if you're checking it out after this, that you love it as much as I did. And I really do wish you the best of luck. I hope you have fun working through it, solving the puzzles, finding the secrets, maybe replaying it to see different endings, different options. And I hope that you find really whatever you're looking for out there in Silent Hill. Finding Mary, finding something else, understanding the problems and the sickness that is, laid throughout this town, the corruption deep below, and the sweltering darkness that's present. And good luck kind of moving around in this silent, creepy town of well, Silent Hill. And yeah, it's absolutely fantastic on PlayStation 5. Beautiful effort for sure.